Now, without any further ado, I would like to introduce, our very special guest today, Ms. Margarita Louis-Dreyfus. Margarita Louis-Dreyfus serves as the chairperson of Louis-Dreyfus Holdings. For those of you who are not familiar with the company, the Louis-Dreyfus organization is a global firm that's involved in agriculture, food processing, freight, and finance, and it touches everything from ocean vessels to telecommunication infrastructure to real estate to commodities and such as coffee, sugar, metals, grains, etc. And the company is among the global leaders in agricultural commodity trading. If I'm not mistaken, Margarita could correct me on this, making up somewhere around 10% of the world's agricultural trade flows, and one of the world's, if not the largest, cotton and rice trader. The company has over 180 offices in more than 100 countries and employs 18,000 plus people around the world. And while this alone may sound incredibly impressive and a remarkable burden for Margarita to carry as the chairperson of the organization, I think Margarita carries a much greater responsibility, and she takes a deep interest in the health and well-being of future generations. She is an active mother, an engaged philanthropist, an outspoken thought leader in addressing the mental health crisis that is currently affecting our youth through her Human Change Project, which is now partnered with the European Football Association in countering youth digital addiction. And I just want to mention that while we typically use this Lunches with Legends forum to talk about financial investments, we don't spend nearly enough time discussing the most valuable investments that we make, which is investments in the future of our families, our children, and our grandchildren. And I'm super excited to actually shift today's dialogue in that direction, because there are profound challenges for children born in today's digital age, and there are even more complex challenges for children born into affluence within today's digital age. So I'm hopeful that we can delve deeper into this topic and walk away with hopefully some great insights and ideas that will enrich our own families and certainly those around us. So as such, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure and honor to welcome legendary Margarita Louis-Dreyfus. Margarita, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mo, for presenting me, for inviting me. It's a big honor for me and pleasure to speak to you, to speak to your audience, what honestly I don't do very much. But speaking with you, I said to myself, okay, the topic for me is very interesting. And I'm speaking right now about children, our future, and what is going on today with them. I have 5 children by myself. So it gives me some perspective on personal and family life with 5 children, and of course also on social and on the family, on the company, because our company is a family company, which is 175 years old and started by grandfather of my late husband, Robert Louis-Dreyfus.
Well, I mean, it's an incredible legacy, but I want to go to the beginning for Margarita. So maybe let's start at the beginning. If you could share with us a little bit about your own background growing up, obviously in former Soviet Union, Russia specifically, and what lessons from your own backgrounds have been most salient for you, and which lessons then you've chosen to pass on or try to adapt for your children in kind of today's crazy world.
Yeah, I was born in another world, I have to say. It's like another planet, but still I remember well what were my experience. And as a child, I had to support my family from the age from 7 years old. On weekends, I was doing shopping, cooking, and cleaning as my part of supporting the family. And only after this, I had time to play. It was just a normal reality that every family member was giving what it could to the family well-being. Sometimes I was unhappy to cook instead of playing, but I never questioned why I should do it. The family duties were for me like a weather. Sometimes it annoys us, but we still accept it as a normal part of the nature because we cannot choose or optimize it. So I think that this acceptance motivates people to do the best out of any situation.
Mhm.
This acceptance I learned out of the purpose to support my family. This purpose guided me as a child to find solution to all challenges and gave me strength which last till now. Unfortunately, I understood what made me resilient only after I realized that my own children and lots of children around me started to show signs of weakness. It means that they could not deal well with disappointments and problems. So around 10 years ago, I started to analyze and compare different childhoods and outcomes of it. Luckily for me, my 3 sons were born before the time of social media and digital childhood. They learn how to manage their lives through real life experiences. They were not emotionally isolated from me and their father, which is very important, as I know now. But I still did the same mistake like a lot of parents around me. I tried to protect my children from all worries and problems. I wanted to give them a perfect childhood where was only sunny weather all the time. This was my big mistake. Now, with my little daughters, I'm trying not to repeat this mistake by sharing with them my worries and guiding them how to support me and our family. So, I would say my childhood where support of my family was probably the most important for me, made me really strong for the rest of my life.
And, I mean, you talk a little bit about you needing to support your family, and you talk a little bit about, how much you had to work at a very young age. Obviously, you and I both come from the former Soviet Union, very different place from where our children are raised today. How do you think about just the cultivating that resilience? Like how do we go about um, uh, forging that resilience? How do we, when our children, in many ways, unfortunately or fortunately, have the luxury of choosing comfort over challenge? Um, Thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean. It is a big challenge.
Hmm.
To wish to grow our children as grounded and caring humans was always on my mind, and of course, of my late husband, Robert. We wanted our sons not to be spoiled by luxury life, what we had. Robert was a famous businessman and had not only financial privileges, but he was also a celebrity through our, not also as a businessman, but also through our participation in a soccer club, Marseille.
Mhm.
In Europe, it is pretty famous. And so everywhere where we went, people recognized him. And in France, it was amazing. So the status of celebrity creates even stronger challenges to remain a decent man, decent human. Robert and me were discussing this challenge for our children often, but could not find a clear educational strategy for this situation. Luckily, Robert by himself was not only a very intelligent man, but also very humble. He showed to his sons with his example how to deal with the power over people. That the power is not a privilege, but a responsibility. Luckily, at that time, Robert and me were not competing with social media in explaining what are the values of life. Additionally to our family atmosphere, I brought my sons from the age 15 every summer to some educational projects, like building houses in Armenia after an earthquake, or teaching English to children in an orphanage home in Mongolia. Later, they started to work during summer vacations in our family company, but not in the offices. They were working on fields to learn hard work of farmers in order to think about it later when they would take responsibility for farmers. So with all these projects, I was trying to show them what is a real life. But of course, the wealth was was shadow over their childhood all the time.
So how did your kids react? Because, all of a sudden they live the life they live, but then they go and work as farmers. And obviously that probably was an attempt to sort of ground them and bring them into the real world. What was the response? How did they react?
Maybe because I was speaking with them about challenges in life since childhood, really small, through all those fairy tales and the stories, kind of they expected that life not everywhere is so sunny. But they were, for example, a funny situation, like one time they were like 13, they went to Thailand, to the forest. There was a village in Thailand, had no electricity. And my sons were participating in the program to build small power plants in each village on river. They did like a dam, they were building this together with the children, with the whole community. Small river, small village. And so part of this, they had to bring sacks full of sand to the river. And my sons, pretty big boys, with 13, they were already big. And the children of the same age in Thailand were much smaller, yeah? And my son was kind of telling me after this one, Mama, I don't know, these boys, they just took one bag of sand and was running to the river and back. And I took a bag, sand, and it was so difficult. Probably they are eating something very special that they are so strong. He didn't realize that these children were strong because the life was different. He
Right.
thought it was a special food. So for me, it was one of the a funny moment how still my children were so far from reality. But of course, still with each project, they were growing. Especially for me, I always said to them, you are so privileged. And later, one day, you will take care of these people. You through our company, you will care for them. So you have to remember how was it to be on their place. So
I
this
love that story. That is a phenomenal story. And I think that for many of our families, whose kids have been raised in privileged environments, it's really, first of all, like you said, easy to disconnect from the people on the ground, but it's also easy to disconnect and to forget how hard money is to come by, right? When our kids are surrounded by it everywhere, every dollar. So, and I'm curious, like when you think about the strategies that you've employed with your children to teach them not just the value of hard work, but also the value of money. How do you do that despite the inherent wealth that sort of, engulfs them, surrounds them?
Yeah, it was very difficult to teach my sons the value of money because they knew that their parents could buy almost anything for them. We could not hide this. With all the mentioned before, all this project, what I mentioned, we were trying to teach our sons that the money they can make and lose, but that human relationships and our honor esteem is what makes our life worth living and getting up every morning. The biggest power in human can be born mainly out of life purpose. If people have a purpose, they feel fulfillment with having a lot of money or with having no money. Today, so many privileged teens are in depressions because they have so much than, despite that they have so much than previous generations. But it happens because these children are emotional, isolated from their parents, and feel no purpose to support their family or anything else or anybody else. No commitments. I was kind of trying to switch attention from the money to the purpose, but we had our challenges. And with the age of 15 and 16, some situations were very difficult for me, and kind of I have to say now, when my boys are adults and have families, and by the way, I'm very happy that each of my son has already his baby. Now looking back, I have to say we need a lot. We parents need a lot of also patience and trust in our children. But everything what I gave them before the age of the challenging age of 14 helped very much, I have to say. I could still feel emotional connection to them built in the years before. But in the age, as I said, between 14 and maybe 17, there were many challenges, and they were also connected to money. I have to say, took me a lot of strength to kind of not to lose my faith.
Well, I'd love to say that's encouraging, but since the majority of my 5 children are between the ages of 14 and 17, I'm a tad hesitant. I will say I am curious what you mean by purpose, because purpose in this context is interesting. How did you explain purpose to your kids? What did it mean to you? Maybe if you could just unpack that a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, purpose. For me, purpose, it's not at the beginning it's a wish, but in reality it's a really commitment to help to somebody, not to yourself. And somebody for children, it's their family, because it is natural. They want to be loved by family and to love their parents and their family. It is natural wish of them. And we as a parents can build on it. I cannot expect my children to have purpose to help Africa. People, they can do it by their brain, but not yet by their hearts, because they don't know them. But they can love their grandparents, their parents, and care for them. But of course, if we don't support this care, this purpose, the natural purpose, disappears pretty quickly and becomes just a feeling of it's supposed to be so. I'm supposed to be surrounded by love, but it doesn't create that I give my love and I give my care. If you ask, of course, children, do you love your parents? All of them will say yes. But what do you do exactly to support your parents? With the age of 2 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, many children have nothing to answer. They don't do anything to support their parents. And I think we parents have to give them the first opportunity for 2 years old, but with the wish that for 8 years old, 10 years old children, it's already a duty to support. They feel it inside. They cannot avoid it. It is inside of them, like it was for me as I was a child. It was so normal to put myself on the side and know that to support my family is the main priority of today, for example. And so this I think the purpose for the children is just to support the family. Who is in the family? It's decide grandparents or parents, doesn't matter, but it's the people who are very special to them.
Yeah.
It's the same to care for the friends or for somebody else, because for children it's not the same. They are born with a special link to the family. Later, this link will go to the society and to the group. But as the children are still small, this is a purpose. It's a family.
It's very interesting, and I think that I love what you're saying. Part of the I'd love to go a little deeper and just in more granular detail what that support actually looked like in your context. Because in your case, when you were growing up, I understand that you were raised by your grandfather, so it was, there was very clear what support Margarita needed to provide. In your case, your kids are looking at you, or you're looking at your husband, and you guys are on top of the world. What support could they provide to you from like practically? What did that look like with your own kids?
Okay, in conversations with my sons, I tried always to align our plans for today with a family vision for the long term. But of course, we are speaking about, let's say, company. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
always thinking about the company, what the company is doing, and how we can support our company. At every decisions as future shareholders or a company manager, we should remember the family vision and care for it. So family legacy is for me not a shadow over individual identity, but a supporting compass, not to forget what is really important in life. It is personal care and commitment to other people. And most of the time, as I said, it's family. So it depends on the age of the now, of course, with my little daughters, I have experience. So I
Hmm.
start with them to speak about purpose. I don't use the word purpose. No, I'm just saying for them, for example, I started, they were like 3 or 4 years old. And everything I said them, what you are doing, it should be for somebody. So they are doing a little paintings. And if before with my son, like many parents, I would say, oh my God, how beautiful it is. Now I say it is beautiful, but for who did you do it? The main question is for who? For your grandfather who has a headache. He's 90 years old and has a headache. And so looking at your painting, he will forget about his headache for 5 minutes.
Hmm.
And now they got so much used to it that when they are doing their paintings, they are already telling me, Mama, I'm doing this, for my
Hmm.
grandfather, for my sister, for little baby who is now already born, one of my sons. So everything what they are doing, I'm asking them what. Sometimes I tell them for whom. For example, even in the school when they are learning to calculate, to write. Always I say you learn it to do it for somebody. Somebody who cannot write, you are going to read for them. Somebody who cannot swim, you are going to save his life because this is why you are taking swimming lessons. You are learning how to play piano because music it's a medicine for people.
Hmm.
And listening to this, people will forget their worries or the pain. And so we are speaking this. And of course, now they're 8. Maybe with 10, I have to think, I have to start to speak about others. But even in our school, I speak to the teachers and I'm telling them so many children got lost, not only the purpose, but emotional connection to the family. So let's start to help parents to create it by, for example, that the teachers would ask questions to the children. For example, what is the favorite song of your father?
Hmm.
Do the children know it? I would say most of them not. They would know what is a favorite song of them, but not of their
Right.
father or mother or somebody or the brother. So, and the children should come home and ask parents or the father or the mother about this song. And then there's another question that children should learn about their parents to create an interest to the owner parents. Through this interest, it will be growing again connection, emotional connection. And then, of course, the next stage is the parents, the teachers have to ask, uh, what is your project for this weekend? How can you make a joy to your mom, for
Hmm.
example, or to your father, or to both of them together? Because sometimes it's different. But again, this how you make, how can you support? Is there some way how you can support them? And the children should start think, how can I support? But today it's so artificial that most of the children will even not know what can they do to the parents. It
Right.
is us parents who have to think about it and ask them for help. And
Hmm.
it can be different. And now in the age, I would say my girls, for example, I'm going to speak later about digitalization, but I'm using, as we all of us, my computer a lot to write my emails. So
Hmm.
and my girls see me how I'm writing, and sometimes they ask, "Mom, can we help you?" And I'm
Hmm.
giving them short text to write for me.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of saying, oh, I have another things, or I get maybe headache, and I don't have any headache. But I'm telling them I have a headache. Can you write for me this text?
Hmm.
And right now, in this age, they are very happy to do it. As I read in a book for children psychology, that it's already at this age 10, 12. After this, if they never helped you as a parents, they will lose the joy to do it. And every time, if you ask them for something, it will be a fight. This is why we have to get them used to help to us. But again, we have to use our fantasy, how we can get this help. Because today our children are completely isolated. They have no duties at home, only maybe to bring good grades from school, nothing else. And this creates, of course, isolation, and out of isolation is loneliness.
You know, so interesting. And I want to dig a little deeper here because, well, first of all, you've taken a very interesting approach to preparing your children for being other focused, for, constantly, for building their own character, but also their confidence, because they can help. They are powerful people, very subtle, very powerful. And maybe this is a segue to the other topic you mentioned, but it's so difficult to do, to constantly put that focus and attention on others when the world today and all the media and all the technology is so I-focused. iPhone, my identity, my playlist, like everything is I, me. So, again, I know we have other topics to cover here, but how, in a world where that trend is so powerfully focused on the I and me and my needs and my interests and my wants, how do we combat that societally? Like, and maybe the answer is just in our families, but how do you think about that?
No, okay. For example, if we are speaking also kind of, again, our children are privileged. And I would say during the last 15 years, I met many families where parents were thinking about how to pass their companies or wealth to their children. It became much more complicated because a lot of children they just don't care for family companies or parents' values. These children were brought up in wealth and learned that they are born to fulfill all their owner dreams. Sometimes these dreams are aligned with taking care of the business, family business, and sometimes not. So there are no real commitments to family vision. Such attitude is a result of education where parents, like I did with my sons, isolated children from any responsibility for appreciation the efforts and dreams of previous generations. This was my big mistake. In reality, all children need to feel connected, to be connected and committed to at least some family values. It makes them stronger. And now I know how important it is to speak with children from the very early age about the grandparents who created and cared for the family businesses or why they did so. So now I explain to my little daughters that they are small part of a long family chain, and they all are responsible for this chain, for the past and for the future. By the way, my girls like very much to be part of a chain. Like this, I hope that my daughters will never feel alone. They are surrounded by dreams and sacrifices which many generations did for them to be able to live today. I speak with them a lot about sacrifices, what our grandparents did for us. That the dream and the vision of their grandchildren, like us today, they gave him so much strength to overcome amazing challenges where there was no medicine or there were wars and hunger. And I think this gives them feeling of appreciation, gratitude towards previous generation, and also responsibility, of course. I say, and by the way, to my children, I say, do you, because they hear, of course, from other children, I'm here only for myself to enjoy life and all this stuff. And I'm telling them, at this age, it's worked until now. Do you want to live forever? As there is only one way to live forever, through your own children. through generation to come. And they want to live forever. So luckily for me, they are already dreaming to give our vision, to give our care to their children.
Right.
So this is how I do this.
And so, and obviously that prepares the children for this responsibility of either becoming a steward of a company, a steward of assets, steward of wealth, and then seeing it in the proper context as a responsibility as opposed to just a privilege. Is there anything from an education or a practical point of view that you do with the kids, and maybe with the girls it's a little early, but you know, that you did with the boys where they effectively got their practice reps in where did they develop their sophistication around managing capital, around managing assets? Anything practical that was done there?
Okay, if we are speaking about particularly our family company, so
Yes.
with my boys, of course, I was telling them we were speaking a lot about family history, not about only business, but family history. Who were this grandfather? How did they start? How did they do? Of course, speaking about it, I was trying to give him the feeling also proud, to be proud. This is the first feeling. And then, of course, feeling of responsibility. Out of this responsibility, we cannot forget. And especially, of course, the father, my late husband, he was amazing family guy for the family values. His responsibility to his um, family heritage was very strong and visible for our children. So they kind of, but we did a mistake. Yes, we did a mistake because they saw how he was, how he cared for family responsibilities, yeah, towards the company. And at the same time, we said to our children, like everybody around us, but you are born free. You just be good citizen, do everything what you want, but good. And then we were speaking about family company, but we didn't make this connection to them as they were small. You have to take care of the company. We never said this. And this was a mistake. Now I know. Luckily for us, due all other projects what we did, and that I sent them also to the companies to work as they were young, they still developed it by themselves. But now I know that we have to speak about it. We cannot let them free our children out of it. And it doesn't matter that they should go and work in the company, but they should care. They should care, or as again, as a shareholders or as a managers, they should feel the care of their grandparents or the parents who started the company, but everybody who was guiding the company. In our family, of course, they are founder, but there are other people who were continuing, and the last person, it was a father, and they saw how it was important for them. So we were lucky that the care for the company they got in the blood, and right now only one from them is in the company, and it's not good, not bad. I don't know if all three of them would be. It would be maybe a little difficult for me, kind of, to split between them the responsibilities. But this one who is in the company right now, he's like his father. He's very humble, and this I have no fear that he would abuse his name because the name of the company name, Louis-Dreyfus. I know, I have no doubt, I had no doubt, and now he's since 2 years in the company. It's confirmed that he is first humble by himself. And secondly, the responsibility inside of him is so strong. He is right now also a little afraid to make a mistake with his family company. So he is ready to learn a lot and not to take risks if it would be his owner company. But he also has his owner small investments where he takes risks. But doesn't take risk as a company. He's, by the way, of course, also not a managing position. He doesn't want it. He wants to learn. He's staying very close to key people, and he
Right.
has his own project inside of the company. But his main thing is very much to learn and to get, before he takes a decision for his project, he is speaking with so many people inside of the company, and they appreciate it very much that he is showing them respect, and also showing them that how he appreciates their mentorship from
Yeah.
each side a little, but all together is a team membership. What he is enjoying right now, and I'm very happy that the feeling of responsibility is he is not free. Yes, he's binded, but at the same time, it's his strength. The moment when it could be a crisis or something, this same feeling of responsibility will guide him out of the crisis and will
Hmm.
give strength.
And how do you know, it's interesting because there's so many things that you've said and that you've done, which give, like you said, strength, individual strength, which give them confidence, which also earn a lot of goodwill with those around them by showing respect. Um, I guess the question that I would have in and around this big, family legacy that they're stepping into, to what extent have you been concerned about the children being in the shadow or finding themselves in the shadow? How do you think about that, and how do you foster that sense of individual identity in the context of this powerful family legacy and this heritage that they're coming to inherit and hopefully perpetuate?
Do you mean in the shadow of the father, or in the shadow, what shadow?
You know, it's actually a good point. It could go either way. One of the things that we've seen is that the children, when they see a very powerful parent, are often feel like they can't necessarily measure up, right? And whether it's mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, whoever it may be. Again, you and I come from places where you could only go up. You know, um, our kids are born in places where they could actually go down, and that introduces this new challenge and dynamic. And how do you think kids should or parents should help their children with that? How do you think how have you approached that topic in your own family?
Yeah, okay. From everything what I said before, to involve children in our worries, to share with them. We are not genius, and even the father, as he was alive, again, we had it. My oldest son had a very clear sign of being overshadowed, and the children psychologists told me, and this is why my oldest son said he will never go to the business. He said
Hmm.
it when he was 6 years old,
Hmm.
because the powerful image of the father, where everybody said, "Oh my God, how genius businessman he is," was kind of killing my boy
Hmm.
wish to become a businessman. This was a mistake, yeah. I think the solution to this is, okay, for my husband didn't work because he got sick and he could not do it. But for people who can do it, to involve the children from the age very little, to share with them, in conversations, my son, my daughter, I had today difficult day. This is a challenge, but I have to, and kind of speak with them, to share them not only success, but also challenges.
Yeah.
And I would say, not ask for advice, but let them be part of the conversation. And I think the risk of the shadow will be less. But of course, for my son, who is now in the company, the shadow of his ancestors,
Mhm.
genius ancestors, are
Hmm.
still there. He should be very strong to overcome it. And my personal way of it, to give him to give him practice. He has to learn from his own mistakes. This is why he has now his project. Not generally he came to the company to become straight away a manager of something big, where the big team is managing it. No, he needs to have his own decisions, his own mistakes, and his own success to realize what are his strengths. I know that he is very intelligent, but he doesn't know it. So he has to build his own experience. And this is why I think the children in such situation needs they personal projects from the age, I don't know, 12. Not necessarily connected to the company, but it should be their personal. And by the way, in my childhood, my personal project was to care for the family. This is the best.
Yeah.
This is how. And I remember I was going shopping, and a couple of times I lost the money, and I had to come home without money and without shopping, and I had to overcome this feeling and to find solutions, to find explanation, to find how. So there were many different situations where I had to find solutions, and it made me strong every time I did it. And this is what our children generally miss today, and especially the children who have powerful parents, then they especially need it even more. This personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to get to the topic. There's a lot more to cover on this, and hopefully we'll still have a little bit more time on it. But I want to get to the topic of, the role of technology in society today, how it's affecting our kids. You've been very passionate about this. You've been outspoken about this. The project that that you and I chatted about, which is the Human Change Project. Could you tell us again, how do you see the role of technology today? How should we be thinking about it? What impact is it having? And what we need to be doing about it? Just whichever direction you want to take that.
Thank you very much. No, okay. What strategy do we need to consider in this case? Yeah, this is also my question. How is the digitalization of childhood changing children? And what kind of adults will they be after this digital childhood? The answer to this question is very important for our society, not only for me. In order to find it, I created the Human Change Campaign, which is a coalition of parents, educators, psychologists, pediatricians, and clinicians. And our goal is to collect the relevant information based on scientific research and together search for solutions. Today, we are experiencing a unique digital transformation of our world and enjoying many wonderful technical innovations. These transformations brings us a lot of great opportunities, which we all appreciate. But it brings great risks too. More and more experts speak about how digital addiction is changing our society. The challenge of digital addiction impacts the whole population. Adults have better chances to deal with this because we grew up prior creation of such addictive digital programs and could develop life skills needed to resist addictions. Today, most children are growing surrounded by new addictive technologies all the time. In pre-digital time, children's development happened mainly in personal interactions with family members, free play, and daily opportunities with their peers. Now, too many of children prefer to live in virtual reality. They have not enough time to develop their social, intellectual, and even physical skills needed to become resilient and successful in their adult life. This process is not yet very obvious to our society because children are drifting into digital world silently. In the Western world, we are now 11 years into the largest epidemic of adolescents' mental illness ever recorded. Many researchers show that a lot of adolescents are spending an average of 8 hours a day online. Kids are getting digital devices at younger and younger ages. By 2015, when gaming became even more sophisticated, a staggering number of boys said they were lonely and had no close friends, and that there was no meaning or direction in their lives. Even in schools, digital education replaces more and more in-person communications with teachers. As a result, the trend to purchase a digital partner is growing, especially for young men, because the real relationship becomes too complicated for them. The families with family businesses are experiencing the same challenges as all other families, because the connection between family members is getting looser and looser. The price of losing contact with reality is high. In just 5 years, between 2010 and 2015, across the UK, the US, Canada, and Australia, and beyond, the number of children with anxiety, depression, and even suicidal tendencies increased roughly by 150%. The rate of self-harm by young teens, girls, nearly tripled from 2010 to 2020. This trend is growing. The suicide rate for young adolescents in US increased by 167% from 2010 to 2021. The researchers in Europe confirm the same trends like in US and in UK. For example, there are so many children in Switzerland who need psychological support today that the waiting list for them to get a treatment became longer than a year. This is unprecedented situation for Switzerland, where we have the most doctors per capita in the whole Europe. So just as we do not allow children to drive cars or gamble in casinos until they're old enough to understand the risks, we should similarly protect them from digital addiction. The digital-free childhood is crucial for children because it provides them with enough occasions to develop the needed social, intellectual, and physical skills to successfully manage their lives as adults. This is even more important now in digital society with AI. AI is going to change everything, and our children are full in the whole story in this big experiment, and nobody knows how it will impact our children. So the dangers are very big of this digital childhood. I call it everything included: social media, gaming, digital education. More and more children are really children. Now I'm speaking about teens, 20 years old. They don't know how to speak with each other. And we in our company now already speaking about a new generation, as they call it, unproductive generation, 25 years old. They cannot concentrate, they cannot work under stress, they cannot support critiques. They're falling in a mental crisis at every moment when it's maybe not, it's raining too long. So it's, of course, now it's a little sarcastic, but I checked, as I told you, the numbers in Canada right today, and the mental health of adults, of employees, mental health of workforce, and it's a lot, and it's growing, but everything is ahead of us, because the children of today, 10 years old children of today, they are full in this digital childhood, and how they are going to manage this human life. This is a big question.
So Margarita, question. So is it too late? And I mean, obviously the digital world is all around us. It's becoming more and more all consuming. So question number one, is it too late? And is it only going to get worse? And number two, yeah, maybe you could elaborate, when you think about your philanthropy or the projects you've been involved with, what practically have you been busy with, or things that maybe our families or some of us could get involved with that would actually move the dial positively on this concerning issue, for sure?
You see, the hope dies at last, as we know. And I have to say, during the last 12 months, many things happened, luckily for us, positively. For example, in US, many new initiatives. I don't know, in Canada, I just know only one guy who supports, who we are working together. He's responsible for, I think, 45 teachers in Canada and is trying to free children, at least during the school time, from digital devices, which of course already great, because all this mobbing, all this, in Switzerland, I'm going to school to pick up my children. In the breaks after the school, everybody, all children having their device and they are directly there. They are not speaking with each other. So the Switzerland is it's amazing how kind of our society in Switzerland is letting our children down. But luckily for US, there are initiative like they call it MAMA. It's against digital addiction of children. And now in UK, just 3 months ago, it started the new smartphone free childhood as a platform. And I spoke with the founder of this platform. It's a spreading, he said, it's amazing. Only 2.5 months. And what does it mean? What these people are doing? They are promising to each other, parents, not to give to their children smartphone at least until the age 12. They just promising each other. They don't take it as free. But by doing this, they created new part of our society where the children of the age of 10 can visit each other and not having the smartphone in the hand, because we have now with our friends, we just laughed. Children are going to the birthday party, children of the age 10, 14, everybody is in their devices, even in the birthday party. So, and if parents are promising this to each other, then they are helping their children to overcome this addiction. So such projects, of course, give all of us hope. And by the way, these people from UK, I spoke with them 2 weeks ago, and they said that the last week they had a webinar for people around the globe who wants to do the same in their country. And they said to me they had 30 countries signed up for this webinar. And luckily for me, 2 from Switzerland. There were 2 from Switzerland. So a little hope for Switzerland. So we can do things. We have, of course, it's not only to free children from smartphones. It's not anymore enough. It could be maybe 20 years ago, but not anymore. We give them instead, because if we take from them this digital world, which they are already so full, it will be emptiness. How to fill this emptiness? And here exactly, we need the purpose for the family. When we will we take them out, because luckily for me, my girls, they don't have, and they will surely not have it until 14, maybe 16 years old. So, but if, like I hear now from many parents, they have digital detox for their children. It's really, by the way, very dangerous, because it is really nothing inside of the child. If you take away he has no life. The whole life is digital somewhere. And so these children, they need very strong support. But luckily, not all children are so extreme. And we parents, we have to give a lot of efforts to replace this digital paradise inside of the children. It's not, of course, a paradise, because children are suffering a lot from all this competition, day in life, how looks, all these likes, what did you eat, what did you, I mean, it's just growing inside of our children, all these negative feelings, no values, no purpose, just to sell themselves for any price. And it's destroying they as humanity. And this is a trouble for me. If we compare it to the tobacco industry situation, when the child started to smoke with 12 and stopped one day, maybe he even could have a healthy life, healthy and long life. If children are destroyed by digital addiction, by all these erasing values trends until the age of 18, for most of the children, is too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can never recover. Can you imagine what does it mean? Not to be able to create a relationship, the most important in our life, relationship with
Mhm.
somebody. It means relationship, it means commitment to this person. They're not able. They have to the situationship. This is a maximum what they have, or digital partner.
Yeah.
For the boys, digital partners. For the girls, situationship. What does it mean for the adults, for our society, and for these young people in 20 years?
Wow. I'm gonna have to look up situationship after this conversation because I've never heard it before. But I will look it up. But I know first of all the time flew by on this and this is a topic that we could spend endless amounts of time on. And I think you're absolutely right. It is the critical topic of our day because we are creating different uh, creatures, so to speak, than we have created, basically since time immemorial. Um, Maybe just to close this out, because you're involved in so much philanthropically, business-wise, socially. Also, engaged with so many other families who are in that stage of intergenerational wealth transfer. When you look around, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen other families make in this intergenerational transfer that you've personally learned from? And maybe any parting advice that you could offer some of the families that are going to be listening to this, who again are probably dealing with some of the same challenges.
You know, okay, we spoke already about it, this purpose. But I have a friend here in Switzerland. It's an older guy. He is now 96 years old. And he has amazing life. And he has 3 children. And he started from zero and created amazing wealth and gave so much to society also. He gave, for example, to Zurich Museum collection. His collection is worth 1 billion.
Hmm.
So he has a lot. And he started it with his special kind of calculation. So I asked him, I met him first time maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I asked him, how did you do it? And he said, yeah, no. And he started to tell me all this, system, how he's calculating and now in his life. And it was really, he was very enthusiastic. And I felt it. And I said, so did you give it to your children? He said, no. I was telling them that they should find themselves. They are free. And they are kind of, I will support them, whatever they do. No, they don't need to do, to be interested what I'm doing, because they are interested about the owner fulfillment. The result of it, not one of 3 children is interested what he's doing. The whole knowledge what he collected will die with him. There's nobody. And I mean, this was for me very sad situation. When I looked at this guy who had so much feeling of family, but did this mistake by thinking that he is freeing his children, he didn't give them the purpose.
Yeah.
So this is exactly, we hear so much the word free. You are free, you have to be free. But what does it mean free? I think if somebody has a purpose, he is free how to go to this purpose, because purpose usually is a vision. It's not something that you can take in the hand. It's a vision of the rest of our life. It's like a North Stars, and we are going this direction. And on the way to this North Stars, we are free to choose our ways. But many young people, children maybe, they got this, that they are free from anything. So this older guy was for me, and I was sharing this, of course, story with my sons. Now they have their children, not to do this mistake, not to say to the children, you are free. And by the way, I hear from many children today, 20 years old, like, oh, we own nothing to anybody. They say to their parents directly in the front of my eyes. I remember I was really I heard it for the first time 2 years ago. The son of my friend said directly to Mama, I don't owe anybody to anything. I'm free. And then when she started, but how can you free? I gave you, and he said, I didn't ask you to be born. And then I said it to him because he's a Jewish guy. And I said it to him, how can you say something like that? Because when I remember, and he's coming from, his parents were in Leningrad during the war. I said, do you think for them to hear what you just said, you are free? You're never free because you are owed to these people. They sacrificed so much that you will be alive today. You are born only because they did this. So I think we never have to say our children they are completely free. We all are have our commitments, our responsibilities, and somebody wants to take them, and I think it makes us strong. So people who, unfortunately, children, if they grow up without this, so difficult later to catch up. This is, I think, for me, the biggest risk that the children will grow up like without this. And later, by the way, they can learn by theory. It is good to do this or that.
Right.
And they will do it, but they will not get satisfaction from their heart for doing something good. I know these people. They are doing good things, but they are in depressions because they didn't learn it from the childhood to get positive feelings from, for example, caring for their family.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, what a powerful message to end this conversation on. I mean, Margarita, that was fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your personal stories, your insights, and being so ever generous with your time and your wisdom. We really greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much to give me this possibility to speak to all of you. And I hope even if I kind of get some useful idea to one family, it's already worth all this time.
It's going to be more than one family, but for all of our participants who are watching this now, who will be watching this going forward, if we're going to share a little bit more on this topic. And also, just as a reminder that the purpose of this conversation is in support of Lunches with Legends. If you haven't yet donated, please do so at luncheswithlegends.com. And certainly join us again June 4th as we sit down for a conversation with Mitchell Green, the founder of Lead Edge. To Margarita and everyone on the call, thank you again so much for your support and wishing each of you a wonderful day. Thank you.